Audio. This is Benjamin Boyce. I'm live. My output doesn't be seeming to work. Yeah, we have it. We do have one little problem, but I don't think it matters because I don't need to hear you. I'm fine with just hearing my own voice inside of my head. This is Benjamin Boyce, and I have nothing to say at this moment, but we're just going to start talking because it's been a while since the live stream has been livid up on this channel. I've been working hard on various projects, some of which are more important than others, but you never know what's going to be important because you need to have that magical feedback loop of importantality before you're absolutely certain that importance has been achieved. Thank you very much, Bill Berry, for chiming in on the audio. We have the cat just came in the room, but I'm going to let her sniff to her heart's content over there while we wait for people to jump up in this live chat stream and begin to dialogue with me and allow me to find a topic to rest part with my verbal acuity, which is unassailable. Thoroughly unassailable. My verbal acuity is unassailable to such an extent that I've hired a coxswain to mess around with my rigging while we're in this live mode. Actually, I'm constantly messing up with my words, and I appreciate all the pedants of the world coming up into my mentions and correcting me. But I do refuse to pronounce the G in "are-you." I don't like that G there. I don't think it has to be there. I think it's assumed that it's there. It's one of those words where it's English. You don't need to pronounce that word. Argue? Like, are you serious? Argue? Come on. Are you? There we go. Makes sense. I don't have to trip up in that syncopation of going back and forth with that G. It's too much work. I'm not lazy. I'm efficient. And that's how it's going to be pronounced on my channel. And, what are you going to do? Like, distract me from earning more favor with the multitudes that are at my disposal in this brave new internet world? Grave new internet world. Hello, everybody. This is Benjamin Boyce, if you didn't know that by now. Lady Dakini says that there's slight white noise, but that's okay. I could probably be gating this better. I should probably do a thorough audio check when I'm on my own. The heater is on right next to me because this room was cold all day, and I'll probably turn that off. That should be giving a slight ringing sound, if you can hear that. Right there, but a couple of octaves up. But, what do we do? Thanks for the appreciation and the bookish demeanor of your profile picture, Lady Dakini. What you reading right now? It looks like a book with words, not a picture book. But maybe it's just supposed to symbolize a book and not descriptive of what you're actually reading right now. But if you want to share with the world what you're reading, I will pronounce it into my microphone with a slight tinge of white noise. Tonight's drink is a whiskey sour. While I was making this, I was reading the bottle in my hand. I was reading it like I was talking to you because that's what I do. I pretend to talk to people constantly. I don't know. And I was reading it, but now by this time, I think it might be Old Forester, maybe. It's a bourbon whiskey, a blended bourbon whiskey, if that's a thing. I don't know. I remember the words whiskey and American. Anyway, so it's a whiskey sour. So what we have here is a lot of bitters and a quarter of a lemon squeezed in there with some simple syrup and the whiskey. It is kind of a double. People always accuse me of being drunk, but I always start with a full glass, and I rarely ever get that much through. The drinking activity because I'm so obsessed with caressing your ear canals with my luscious choose your own adventure verbiage. Anyway, so it's a whiskey sour. Let's test it. It's got one Luxardo cherry in it. It's good. It's bitter. It's very refreshing. It's kind of an odd drink for winter, but we're entering into March, of which the only holiday of note is an Irish holiday. So I don't know what's the proper drink to be drinking right now. Anyways, if you guys have any questions for me, if you guys want me to explore any topics. Prem Longhorn is talking to somebody else at Xochipilli 2012, which sounds like an incantation of sorts. I hope if I don't say that out loud, it's going to trickle out into the world and some entity out there will take it as, a command to be summoned forth and stomp across some coastline. But Prem, I hope you get Xochipilli 2012 the desired funds, unless you're talking about me. If anybody does want to boost up my monetary reputation with the bank system and the student loan system, there's a PayPal in the description. But you know what? I'm not a grifter. This is absolutely authentic. I do this purely for the sake of being able to mash my face into the pixel zone and get my face licked by your little retina sensors, and we can have this wonderful exchange, especially when the photons line up with the symmetries of my face. My teeth kind of disappear in the background, and I just appear to you out of nowhere as though somebody who's worthy of your adoration. And I don't know what I'm supposed to be talking about, other than just trying to. You know what? I do have a story. So I was working in preschool. And I stopped working in preschool, and I went back and forth between working in preschool and not working in preschool because I would get burned out. And then I had like a major destruction in my life where I had to build myself all over again because I had foolishly thought that if you write a woman a book about you and her being in love, that would sufficiently establish a perpetuity in a romantic area for, at least 10 to 20 years. But after 4 years, it kind of collapsed. And I was a fool because I had erected this fantastical worldview with her at the center. And when she left it, I was kind of like high and dry. Now I'm being hyperbolistic, but not really. Actually, after I'm dead and you guys get to sift through my novels, you'll see that like one of the main characters is this woman. Anyway, so this woman went away, and I went away too. When she was gone, I just disappeared. Like I became nothing. I just like disappeared. And for some wonderful reason, I was summoned back to preschool. I was offered this job at this preschool, so I went back to work part-time at this preschool, and eventually I went more and more time, more and more hours a week, quit my other job, which was as a sexton in a Universalist church, which is actually a pretty cool job. But then I was doing preschool. For some reason, they had an opening in the toddler room, and I was used to working with preschool, which is 3, 4, sometimes 5 years old. And I applied for the job. And actually, before I applied to the job, it'd been a year, and I was still feeling like a very hollow person after that whole breakup, probably a year and a half. And I was sitting in this, I went to this conference for my spiritual group, and I was sitting in this circle. And I was just like, I was just kind of like asking, like, what do I do? Like, what am I here for? What am I doing? Because I couldn't write anymore. Like I had no center. I had no foundation. I'm like, what do I do? What do I do? So I was just like being really quiet. And this toddler just like walked out into the middle of the circle. There was like a talking circle. For some reason, people like talking in a circle. This toddler walked out in the middle of the circle, and I just knew right there. I'm like, that's your destiny, Benjamin. Like I there was no voice or anything, but I just knew, like, that's my destiny. 3 months later, or 2 months later, actually, maybe even 6 weeks later, I was interviewed for this job working with toddlers, right? And we sat through the interview, and they asked me all these questions. They kept asking me questions. Eventually, I ran out of the ability to make sense to them, but I had to keep on talking, like I started with this live stream. You just keep on talking, right? And eventually, people will just like tune you out or let you go. That's just how it works, at least in an interview circuit. Anyways, they gave me the job, and before I got the job, I was like, what do I do? What do I do? And again, I had this insight of guidance, and I just knew. It was either a dream or I just knew I had like this kind of this vision, either while I was asleep or awake. And it wasn't like a supervision or anything. It was just like this insight, this imagistic flash of just being just a radio. I just knew all I had to do was be a radio. Like, these kids are pre-verbal to, what's the Latin word for beginning verbal? Neo-verbal, right? And my job, I just knew my job was to fill their brains with language. And it didn't actually matter what the language was. I mean, like there's proper and improper speech. I'm not talking about that. It didn't matter if they got it or not. What I was doing was I was encoding I was like drilling little pathways in their neurons to realize and to recognize the plasticity and the functionality of language. And so that's what I did. That's what I ended up doing. And that's how I started to reassemble myself as a languaged beast, because I had lost the ability to be creative on the written page. I every time I tried to write, like I would make these sentences that didn't make sense. I would just make these sentences that didn't make sense. And you just write and you're like, this is a pile of crap, and you just give up. But working with those kids and just like I started to figure out language. One thing I figured out was how to be direct, which is something I always had. I still have a really hard time being direct, but I just realized it's time to wash our hands. Line up, put the soap on, scrub the hands, dry them off, go forward, just like distilling everything down into the rudiments of action, and verbs and nouns, just like strip it all down right there, bam. But, when things had to be done, that's how I learned how to put things down. But when things didn't have to be done, what I would do is just like play with language and make stories. And with toddlers, and probably up to around 2. It depends on the kid, but like really early aged kids, they don't really need a plot yet. You just tell them a sequence of action. And if the character is pretty much stable, actually the character itself can change. You just make this run-on sentence of action. Right. And it's fascinating. It's one of the most profound experiences I've had, like really high up there, is just watching a kid like their brain turns inside out. And their eyes just get really big and they just become these absorption tubes, right? Like they're just uploading the data of the story. And you just tell a story about a ball falling down a hill, running into the ants, and the ants turn into goo, and the goo stretches out into this rainbow colored puddle that people start splashing in. And the dust came up and it entered into my breathing area. And then I started becoming glowing like a rainbow and shooting all these glowing ants out of my, you know what I'm saying? So the kids they would just absorb. And you finish your run-on sentence and they're like, more. You're like, more. It's just this amazing thing. It's like one of the most powerful things. Like human beings, we're just completely adapted to stories, to just sucking them in and spitting them out. And that's what we do. We suck in stories and we spit them out. We suck them in, we spit them out. They're just wonderful. And then during that process of like getting back into like figuring out how to be direct with language, figuring out how to be flexible with language, and like rebuilding my ability to be creative. And then that's where all the kids' songs started coming, because I set myself a writing prompt eventually. I'm like, okay, I got to do something. I'm just sitting on this playground, like doing nothing. Like I'm really doing nothing. And that wasn't feeling good enough. I'm like, I have to do something more. I have to be productive. I have to be productive. I have to be productive. And like I had that back because I lost that. I lost that need. Like that's always around me. But I lost that. It's always been around me. It's like I need to create something. I need to create something. Like that is always there. It's just driving me. Whenever I have a lull, I'm like, I need to create something. I need to create something. If I'm not thinking that, then I just start like making puns constantly. I'll hear a word and I'll make a pun out of it. And it's so freaking annoying. My brain just needs to make something. It just needs to make something. And so I got that back in. And I started like janky on the guitar, and I just started making all these kid songs. I made like 120 or like 174 kid songs before I left and went into my college days. I made all these songs. I was just like, I'm just going to write a nursery rhyme that's going to live alone forever on a playground. I wrote another one today because some kid said one time a baby hit me. This kid's got like this kind of like this verbal tick. She just mispronounces certain consonants. And I heard one time a baby hippie hit me. So I just made up a song. Like I'm just driving, I'm doing my activity with the kids, I'm like keeping myself busy because my brain's got to keep busy. So I wrote a song about one day a baby hippie hit me. Half a day from Mississippi, what the hey, I cried, don't hit me. Then she handed me a sippy cup to soothe me. I said groovy. Then we watched a trippy movie about a man who bought a buoy, which he ate because it was chewy. That's all I got. You just, when you're creating songs, you just bore it, and and by bore, you just go through and you go through and you go through and you go through and you push it until it's done. The problem with most songs is that I don't do a switch, so they're not good songs, they're not like full songs, they're usually just like a cycle that spins itself out. The good ones are like when you have that change, when you have the chorus or like that second melody. I don't know all the technical terms, and you guys can school me on the technical terms for, when a song changes and goes into another movement. Then goes back and forth and back and forth and back and forth. I did write a parody of Smooth Criminal because I wasn't done making fun of Bernie Sanders, and I'm going to speak with a Bernie Sanders supporter and learn more about the good side of the progressive movement, though I have qualms with it. And people were fair with me. I hope I was fair. I'm not good at politics. I made a video. I don't know if you guys know this. I made a video I think I released yesterday about the Bernie Sanders campaign and what's going to take for progressives to actually like build a coalition. They're going to have to compromise, but there's this attitude among progressives that I've been focused on. So I might be overstressing it, like I'm a partial person. I can't be perfectly impartial. I was pointing out certain things that I think need to change, need to move forward. And this guy, in good faith, reached out to me. And so we're going to have a conversation. He's going to convince me about certain aspects of the Bernie Sanders campaign, which I would love to give in a good light. I know people want to agree or disagree. I want to learn. I know a lot of people want to agree or disagree with things. I'd rather just process. I'm always in process. It's not about this or that. I had something else. Yeah. So I was going to make I made a parody of Bernie Sanders campaign, and it's the green nude eel, and he's singing, "I see you standing in the bread line with a soup cup on your backpack. I know your son was born blind, but then the government gave him implants. Now you're going to your desk job, rubber stamping all the immigrants. Isn't it funny how the rich folk and the aliens traded places? You've been hit by a social democrat." Dun, 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 dun. And the reason why I wrote that is because I've had that first line in my head for 15 years. I see you standing in the bread line with a soup cup on your backpack. I've had that line for so long. It's just there. Every once in a while, come back into my brain. And I'm finally this is about social democrats. So, then you get completion, but I was going to do the whole thing. I haven't got around to doing that. So do all production and write a few more verses. I'd have to actually change the song because there's not that much interesting lyrics in, pardon me, in the song. He does that "Are You Okay, Annie" thing over and over and over again. So there's only 3 stanzas, and I would like to have 6 because I'm stanza heavy. I'm an author. I'm not a songwriter. I'm stanza heavy, and I try not to repeat myself. But that green nude eel, it's just such a funny voice. I wonder if I took that from somebody. I wonder if I'm making fun of somebody, if it's assembled from something. I think it's unique, but it sounds like I might be ripping that off from somewhere else. If you guys know who I'm ripping off by that, maybe just don't point it out and let me just have fun and just have the green nude eel just saying a bunch of things that Benjamin doesn't actually believe because he's not a green nude eel. Anyways, dude, Mean John, it's green nude eel. Green. Bernie, are you okay? Are you okay? Are there any questions that I'm missing? I'm glad you guys are having so much fun in the comments. I'm having fun. Okay. Una says, please record Hippie Baby. I will. I need to do a couple more changes. I wish it's not going to have a chorus, but it's going to be in my head until I let it go. That's the thing. That's a cool thing. It's actually a cool thing. You get possessed by an idea until you finish it. I think. I mean, I do. I get possessed by an idea until I finish it. So it's going to be there until it goes away. And I might even put it down for a couple years, but this one's really easy. I mean, come on. One time a baby hippie hit me. Half a day from Mississippi. What the hey, I cried, don't hit me. Then she handed me her sippy cup to soothe me. I said groovy. Taz is always awesome. Taz, can I tell people this? Taz gave me some support. She sent me a little bit video, and there's a baby in the background, and she's got such a wonderful voice. I just want to tell everybody, you have a wonderful voice. And I don't know what Australian means, but I do know what ADD stands for. And, usually I have it under control, but what you do is you just you let that go. Right now, what I'm doing is I'm letting go all of my, all the blockages in myself from doing this out loud. This is just what the brain's doing all the time. I don't know. I can't be that unique. I think everybody's brain's doing this all the time. They're just able to get away from it. Maybe there's some sort of Somebody has a horrifying vision. Benjamin Boyce admits to turning children's brains inside out. Horrifying. It's easy. You can do it. Anybody can do it. All you have to do is start like talking in narrative. All you have to do is talk in narrative, and like it's just like, and there's. It actually the horrible thing, and like one of my main characters in my posthumous series is this little girl who's going to end the world as soon as she stops paying attention to it. Like the world basically only exists because she won't stop paying attention to it. And she's got these huge eyes that if you're not careful, you will fall into. Like they're vacuums. She's just like sucking up the world. And the world keeps on existing because if it stopped existing, then she would be unhappy. And like it's kind of important to keep her happy. But once she like stops paying attention, it's going to end. So she's constantly like taking like all of time off the world, and the world just has to keep on like shoving more time into it to give her like time's like going into the world, and then she's sucking time out of the world, and that's why we can't see the future, and that's where the past goes. It just goes into her. I don't know. Half the stuff I'm making up. The other half, I'm not. You sizes. You decide what that is. The Per Drop 79 says, really want to hear more of the story where you were shooting out rainbow-colored stars. They were actually ants. Like I was saying, like the ants created like this gooey puddle that the kids stomped in, and then they created the mist, and then the mist went into my breathing chamber right here, my lungs, right? And then it like was not digested, but it infused my body and started shooting out new rainbow ants in the world, covered the windows like a cloud, and the windows were like covered. It was like some sort of weird tinted effect that the ants, because they were kind of luminescent and kind of invisible, but also rainbows. But when they interacted with glass, they became basically invisible, and they started to filter the world so that you could see. If you stood inside, you could see outside, and outside was rainbow magic land. Rainbow magic land. Anyways, you can't, this is the problem. This is the problem with daycare. So what you do is you get into kid mode, and you just you just dive into the kid mode, and then the parents come and pick up the kids. Or if you're working at a co-op, the parents are there. You're like, okay, I have to go into adult mode, because adults are going to find kid mode really annoying, but the kids like it, but the adults are going to they're not going to groove with me. So I have to turn all of my kid mode into adult mode. But what's proper in adult mode? And it's just weird. You have to your brain has to switch into adult talk. So I know that there are adults out there, and I want to modulate my frequency to hit the adults in the right spot. But maybe there's a kid out there, and maybe that kid is turning inside out. And then when they turn back inside in, and outside out, then they will be reassembled in a way that they will be able to manipulate the world in unexpected capacities, and nobody's going to stop them. And all of a sudden, instead of starting a revolution, they're just going to reassemble all the ways that we put things together in just a slightly better way that'll all run a little bit smoothly. And people won't get stuck in these little negative bubbles. There's these negative people on Twitter. There's some negative people on Twitter that I constantly have contact with, just because I have my group, and then my group abuts with your group, and you run across these negative people, and it's okay, I'm not going to respond to that. One thing when you run into negative people is really easy to engage. So one, I'm fasting from engaging negatively on Twitter. I'm not going to argue on social media. I'm not going to do that. I don't need to do that. If I have a statement that needs to be defended, I might reply once, but I'm not going to do a back and forth. That might be cheating, but I just don't see that it actually builds up into anything. So I'm not going to engage, right? But the other thing you have to be careful of, with people that really get under your skin, is that, you like that feeling. You start getting addicted to their negativity. You start feeding on that negativity. It's like this really salty stick that you find in the middle of the road, and your parents aren't looking at you, and so you start to lick that salty stick, and it's not sanitary. It's got corona, or it will, or you're giving it to it, and you're participating in an oral exchange that you should not be participating in, But you get addicted to that salty stick on the road, and when nobody's looking, you go over there, because not everybody's looking at what you're doing on social media. So you go over there and you lick the salt stick. You're like, oh, that's horrible. Oh, that's horrible. You got to not do that. You just got to like, if you see the salty stick, you're like, that's a salty stick. You let the salty stick come lick you because the salty stick's going to do that. And then you can slightly savor it and maybe do one rebuttal, right? If the salty stick licks you, you can do one lick back, you know, to go away. Say, go hence ye back into the dirty ditch, O salty stick, and leaveth me a bee alone, right? But like these negative people, and you're like, I can't change you. I can't, if I engage with you, you're going to win because you're salt. You just want to spread the salt. That's all you want to do. And if you see that somebody's being cringy with your salt, or if you're stinging somebody, that's fulfilling you. And that's making you justified in your saltiness. So I can't change your chemical composition. I know that you're something, there's a human being inside of this stick of salt, you know. You were just looking at Sodom and Gomorrah too long, you know, I'm getting a little biblical here, but there's a reason why the person got salty, turned into a stick, turned completely rigid, ended up in a ditch, can't get out of it unless they convince people to come and let him lick them. Anyways, so there's a reason there, but you can't discover the reason. You can't get people to change. You can't do anything. You can kind of let them go and say, okay, I witness you. I hope you get better. That's cool. But you really trigger me. It's just interesting. There's certain people that get stuck in places and you can't help them. You can't figure it out for them. You can produce good content. You can create conversations and ways of working out or of dealing with people that amount to more than just licking the salt stick, right? You can model better things. You know, that's the best thing you can do. And you go over here, you do a better thing, and if the salty stick wants to stop being salty, then that's great. That's great. And they can come back into the fold. It's just something I was thinking about today, and I try to strip all identifying information about that off of that. Let's look if there's any more. Maybe I shouldn't look because I know that all my metaphors are loaded, and how adults deal with metaphors is that they reduce the metaphors into very specific things. And I like to be I like to be interpretation free. Like I have the point that I'm making, but I know you can do anything with what I'm doing because that's the fabulous, wonderful thing about the metaphor. The metaphor can perpetuate beyond the unidimensional reduction of the moral or the point or the philosophy or the extraction of it into one way. So if you guys have any questions for me, we'll go there. But I don't want to ruin my vision of the salty stick by seeing what you guys thought of the salty stick. Here, focus. Okay, this is the second sip. See, still not drunk. This is Ben. I'm sober. This is me normal. This is actually me denuded of inhibition purposefully without the aid of any substances. Actually, I did take 4 of those Advil-like things. They're called ibuprofens, liquid gels. I took 4 of them about 3 hours ago because I had a problem with my ankle because I went to the Bernie Sanders rally and I ran around and I did bursty thing with a pocket of fluid and some sort of angular, dorsal plane or something. I don't know. And it put me out. I had to go to the hospital. I almost passed out from the pain because it was just getting more and more painful. Anyway, so they put me on a little bit of Percocet. And I was really good with the Percocet. I only took half doses, and I spent them only, I only took one when I woke up in the middle of the night because of the pain, and I take one in the morning so I could go through and do some work, and then I wouldn't have any in the evening, except for once or twice I had one because they would lead to Twitter confessions. You don't want to exist on Twitter confessions sometimes. Anyway, so I was really good with the Percocet. I didn't abuse the Percocet. They're all gone. I have one left for a rainy day. That's fine. That's not the problem. It's the freaking prednisone, which is a hormone or something, some sort of cortisol thing with these little glandularities on your kidneys or something that's excreting some sort of adrenal variation into your system, whatever. So I took the prednisone, which was supposed to stop swelling. And I haven't had any prednisone in 4 or 5 days now. Everything below my mid-thigh is swollen and poofy and it's retaining salt. It's really uncomfortable. I walk like this. I walk like this undead creature. I mean, my face isn't falling apart, but I'm and what helps with that is the ibuprofen. So that is influencing me by allowing me to ignore the swelling. of the thing. I should prop it up. That's what I need to be doing. I should do that. So that will be the timeout. When I'm done with the hour, my excuse will be that I'm going to go play Persona 5, which I'm almost done with. That's a freaking long game. I'm like, well, I put it down a lot and I let it run in the background because I have an idea and I have to work on a sentence, because I'm addicted to sentences, You're just like, oh, I have a sentence. I know it's there, and you work on a sentence. And Persona 5, which is a JRPG, a Japanese role-playing game, which is highly stylish. And I think it's actually on PC, but I play it on PlayStation 4, and I'm about 112 hours into it. Like, it's just a forever game. So I'm trying to get to the end of that game. It's a good reason to lean back. I have a lot of work to do with the Evergreen State College. I probably shouldn't say any of that publicly because I got some good things. Guys. I'm waiting on a video, but I have a bootlegged video. This is going to be pretty crappy quality, but it'll be good enough. I got some good things though. That's always a good thing. It's like, oh, I have a story to tell. I was having a hard time producing content. I get in this thing where I just feel like I don't have anything to say. Somebody said something really beautiful to me on Twitter, and it felt like it wasn't an insult, and I could see how I could read it as an insult, but it was just so true. And somebody said, I've been listening to a lot of Benjamin Boyce, and I realized that everybody talks as if they know everything about what they're talking about, but nobody actually knows everything. They're just pretending that they know everything. And I responded, it's like, that's why I can't talk. That's where I end up talking less and less and less, because I don't know anything. It's not that I'm so far away from knowing everything about anything that I just don't know anything about anything. That's where I am. And I get stuck in this, I don't know how to say anything because I don't know anything. With the Bernie video, I'm like, I know that I'm going to be leaving a whole lot out. I know that that people are going to agree and disagree with me. I just have some ideas and I have to get these out. I have to get them out. And I had a dream. Somebody came up to me and said, you have enough to say. You need to say it. You need to talk. It's just a weird thing. How do you keep on talking and keep on being humble and open and real and say, I don't know what's going on. I really don't know what's going on. I just have some ideas. I have to process things. I don't want to be agreed with or disagreed with. I want somebody to help me process this, or to appreciate the fact that I processed it in a way that's useful for them, right? It's like that end game. What happened with me on Twitter with people taking a personal experience where I said I receive a benefit of women's emotional intelligence, and in my close relationships, I've seen that I provide value in terms of rational, proportional judgment, which I didn't put in the tweet what I meant by that. I just meant I tell good stories. When somebody brings me a problem, I just saw. Then I saw this and I want to express it. I'm able to take their story and give it proportion, put it into a larger system. And that can be helpful for people that want it. And I used the word rational, and I said it was just my experience, but people wanted to agree or disagree with it. It wasn't about just oh, this is this guy's experience. It was about, how do I take that and agree or disagree with it? And it's not something that you agree or you disagree with. It's a type error. This is another thing I don't know. It's some sort of complete failure of understanding how to engage with this piece of content. And and that's why I think stories are so much better than philosophy. I think story is better than argument. I think story contains argument, right? I'm not saying that story that we can get away without having argument, that we can get away without having philosophy, that we live a life free of ideas. I'm not saying that at all. I'm just saying that if you have a story of sufficient complexity and sufficient stability, then you have characters within the story that can have positions, and then those positions can change, right? So the character inside the story can agree or disagree. They can have an agreement or they can have a disagreement, right? And the story contains that. So you can see the modulation of thought. You can see the evolution of character. You can see somebody going from holding one belief to not needing that belief anymore and going into another way of viewing the world. And this is something that's frustrating, and I can't stop it. And I try to cultivate an audience who can engage, especially when I do personal interviews, engage with these people. It's I don't have to disagree or agree with this person. Their point is either I can see their point, and this is what I think about their point. Like they can go into they can go into a different way of engaging with the thought that doesn't necessarily have to destroy that person's experience, can understand why that person holds that belief, and might be able to express to that person in a way that they will hear or not hear how holding that belief is insufficient for certain situations. Because every given belief it's dependent on a context. It comes from a context, it's useful for a context, and then it's not useful in other contexts. It's not useful for other people, right? And so ultimately, if I can do any service to any of these ideologies that I'm investigating, it's to see why people take those things up and where those things don't serve them anymore, so that they can become more than that ist that they have decided that they are, or they grow outside or beyond that ideology. And the thing is, if you engage with them on the level of agreement or disagreement, they're stuck in that position, right? I mean, agreeing is allowing them, if you let them agree and you resist at just the right, and you have to feel that out. You have to feel it out. Where can you resist in some way that they will open up? That, like I was saying, with the context of the story actually becomes fuller, and they become fuller characters within that story, because that belief system was just a freaking position in this huge chessboard. I'm Benjamin Boyce. I'm letting that thought drop because I think I didn't reach the end of it, but I want to let it go. Maybe I was being too lectury. I'm just working towards something. Somebody gave me a super chat, so let's go up to the super duper chatty-ratty. Third set, salty stick. That's probably gonna be the title. We'll figure out the title, guys. I just made up a title, like Miracle Madness or some stupid thing. It's gonna be the salty stick. Revenge of the Salty Stick. Something like that. Where's the super chat? Super chat. I gotta crack my feet. Farley! Point curation. You know what? You've been around for a long time. Oh. This program lets me zoom in on your, what's it called? I was never able to see this. So I always thought like you were some sort of weird anteater. But point curation has a pipe that's turning into a nose, or a nose that's being sucked into his pipe. This is like a self-coronavirus inoculation regimen. Either that or it's just Dolly doing what Dolly does. And I only say Dolly because there's the snaky candle thing, which reminded me of Dolly. It doesn't actually look like a Dolly thing. Anyways, super chat. California money, $2. I know it's Canadian, but let's pretend it's Californian. Protect yourself from Corona-chan. Wish all well. Thanks, dude. I will. I'm telling kids, wash your hands. We have wonderful discussions about the Corona. We call it the Corona. Do you have the Corona? It's better than them talking about how they have crushes on each other. Jeez. There's nothing more annoying than like first graders like yelling at each other about who's got a crush on who. It's like, that's not how it works, guys. That's not how it works. Okay? Just like let it go. Anyway, so you just put up with this stuff and you start singing about the hippie baby. One day, baby hit me, hippie hit me. Super chat, bike boat board. I want to hear you swear. Darg Nargit. Chashtikan. I don't know. I can't really swear right now. I can't swear on purpose. Every once in a while, I drop the F-bomb. I try to still steer clear of that because that can come to be a synthesis of deep emotion, right? I mean, it interacts with certain parts of the brain, but it's kind of usually a cheat. Sometimes I cuss, though. But you just don't need it if you can weasel into the area in the way that you build up the tension of that feeling rather than just poking that thing. You get people to provoke the thing. Don't poke, provoke. Don't poke, provoke. Una's awesome. Carnivorous coronavirus. Do I have anything else to say? I should give you guys... Oh, I have 20 more minutes. Crap. I have 20 more minutes. Does anybody have a question? I think I ran out of things to say. Crap. I like being potent, right? I like being packed tight in there. Boom. Turn on the live stream. It's been 24 hours later. This is still relevant. This isn't just some guy... Yeah, hey guys. Let me check my Facebook feed. Yeah. So I made a post and still only 2 likes. Let me play with the handgun. Ooh, there we go. Okay. I know what the graphic's going to be now. Looks like my view count's going up a little bit more. But I still have 3 hours to talk. Why do people watch things like that? I'm not going to disparage people for watching things. I like things tight, though. I want things packed, tight, in there, boom, right there. It's all there. It's exhausting. By the time you're done, you're like vibrating. It's like, yes, I want to talk more too. And I'm going to go outside and I'm going to find that black thing that my girlfriend bought that she puts all the banana peels in, and I'm going to talk to all the spiders in there. That's what I'm going to do, because I have such an excess of verbosity now that nobody's going to want to listen to this, but the spiders don't have any choice. I'm just going to make their webs just like resonate with all of the different connections that I myself am able to make now. That's what I want to gift unto the world. That's what I want to give unto you. But when, you put this stuff out there and like, who knows what people do with it? Who knows what people do with it? I'm not responsible with what you do with this. Maybe you're just going to like cut it up, put it to some trippy beats. Maybe I'll make it to a Akira the Dawn festival or something like that, where my voice will pop in about the salty stick. You'll have some like trippy weirdness with like what is that called? That wave, the synth wave or whatever stuff, like going in the background. His face comes in. It's like Benjamin Boyce, salty stick in the ditch, licking the salty stick, right? Somebody said, green nude eel. Grassroots Dictator says, the green nude eel voice sounds like D. Bradley Baker. I'll have to look that up. Anybody know who D. Bradley Baker is? No? Any takers, any givers? Oh, there we go. Ben, have you ever played electric guitar? No, only acoustic. Never enjoyed the sound of electric, though I do have a resonator guitar. But the problem with the resonator guitar is that I need to restring it. It's been a while. I haven't played it. And it is, I guess it's basically electric. This thing, I'll have to restring it so you guys can hear the sound of it. But it's a resonator guitar. It's so out of tune, it's going to be horrible. Oh, ouch. But this guy's got like the electric, and it sounds okay. But I'm not really a good musician. Again, that's musician is just language. You just iterate. And I didn't understand that. Like, I had a really hard time concentrating on that level of music, so I never developed that. And then when I finally like guitar landed in my lap, I'm like, oh, this is how you make a song. Like, okay, so I just need to know those things to make a song. That's what I basically did, and I branched out and learned a couple little things, because you can't just keep on singing, right? So, but I when I was younger, I didn't understand that you can create something with this. It was just something that you have to memorize, and I couldn't get myself to focus on that. I think I was like a natural with instruments, but I could never get myself to actually practice, so I never went anywhere with it. Anyway, so that's technically electric. Well, it's not, but it's got like a pickup. Mean John. Maggie, you're awesome too. Your husband looks like a troubadour or some sort of lieutenant. You guys look really, really happy. Really happy for you. Thanks for being part of this channel, Mags. Oh, I don't know. Who's D. Bradley Baker? Playing Bertram Tongue in Vampire the Masquerade. Bloodlines. That sounds like a video game. It might be an anime, but that sounds like a video game. I mean, what's up with that, like, colon? Vampire the Masquerade. Bloodlines. Benjamin Boyce. Origins. You know? It's like colon something. The naming convention doesn't pop up too much in fiction. Right? Unless it's like a TV show. Video game. Somebody's telling me to chill. Let's do that. Chill with Son of Video. Oh yeah, I did read that. Corona's offering $10 million if they change the name to anything but Corona, and $15 million if it's renamed as Bud Light Virus. That is a brilliant way to combat the stigma. Thanks, Bijou. Bijou just knocked over the thing. Bijou, what you doing, baby? Okay, hold on, sorry. See, if this was on camera, I could make a clip out of it. Go freaking viral. Why did she have to do that? Why do I have to do the green screen? That would have been the moment. Like the handgun in the live video moment. Right there. Anyways. I really should just think about one or two more things. Is there another story? Should I do more about coronavirus? I think that's being adequately covered by other people. I wash my hands. I hope you do too. Green nude eel is in the background here. Damn the Troubadours. Oh, this is great. This is a good video game. Benjamin Boyce. Eternal. What's next? Okay, Evergreen. I got to do I've been stalling on the next episode. Oh, finally. Once I'm done with the next episode, things will pick up a little bit more. I have to get through the George Bridges. The protesters give George Bridges like 99 demands or some insane bit, and he answers like 15 of them. And there's this meeting, which devolves into yet another struggle session because there's nothing to do. They don't want anything. They just want to exercise their power on poor George. And George is fine with that. He's just getting through the moment. Unbeknownst to him, there's this thing called the freaking internet. It's like watching, or will watch, in perpetuity. But it's a really boring segment, except for the John Baumann thing at the end. So I just have to go through and like listen to it and distill it down. And I've just been like, okay. So I've been putting it off. Do more interviews. I have to set up more interviews. Oh, thank you. Thank you. Australian Super Chat. Mishka Lee. Is A Australian? Oh, Australian is AU. Is this Austrian bucks? Those are awesome. You can buy pens and lighters, like high quality pens, lighters, chocolates, and cheese with the Austrian bucks. Anyways, Mishka says, interview suggestion. First read his book, Woven, A Faith for the Dissatisfied. Then interview the author Joel McCarrow, an intersectional slam poet, public speaker. He might be open to talking. Poetry has call-ins. Yeah, that's not a book title. That's a book of poetry title. Woven, A Faith for the Dissatisfied. All right, I'll look that in. I will look him up with Australian bucks. Austrian bucks. And check his stuff out. Intersectional slam poetry. I gotta stop making fun of people. I didn't make, like I had my Clint Eastwood moment today. Can I get this? Where is it? Hold on. Can I get this? Oh, hold on a second. Let me show you one thing. I'm gonna relax a little bit, let the people breathe, let the people chat, let the people who are washing dishes kind of zone out. Going over to Twitter now. It's just this thing. I know you're not supposed to have dead air, but you don't have to fill it with too many syllables. You can just slowly describe something else while you're looking for the thing that you're looking for. Okay, we have this thing. Now if I can, I have to download it. Save image. Okay. Just save it. Okay, then we go back over here. And then we go down here to, where is it? Select backgrounds. And choose file. And, okay, so my Clint Eastwood tweet. Damn kids treating gender like a... Wait, hold on. Wait, I'll just read it. Okay, you guys ready? All right. Damn kids treating gender like a corporate password. It's got to be something no one can figure out. Be loaded with special characters and changed every 20 days. Get off my lawn. I that wasn't snappy. That wasn't a really snappy way of putting it there. But we'll end the episode with Clint looking at me. Wait, how do I be with Clint? And now I'm on Papa Clint's lap. Chris's face. Where is it? There we are. Anyways, great music does have pauses. I should have like some sort of stereophonic fundraising commercial break of some sort, like Beyonce bouncing around on a trampoline or something like that. Is that proper anymore? Girls on Trampolines is so 1997? 8? 2001? Anyways, we don't do that anymore. That's not something that's going to happen. Even if her name is Beyonce. Anyways, so, I should probably lean back, put my legs up. You guys have any more questions for the Benjamin Boyce who has appeared on your screen? Thanks for chatting in. Oh, no. Lady Dakini, I didn't figure out what you were reading. What are you reading right now? Shoot. I missed that. Okay, I have to read Woven, A Faith for the Dissatisfied. Woven : colon. Fuck, argue. You guys want to have an argument? Y'all arguing in there? Like, who pronounces the freaking G there? Argue? Hey, stop arguing with me. I don't appreciate your argumentative attitude. Like, who says that? It doesn't make any sense to me. I'm sure whoever complains about that is right in their own head, but argue is totally fine. There's no other word that's even similar to argue. I mean, there's probably like some sort of like, Paraguayan like raptor or something called an irigu or something like that, where the G actually makes sense, but argue? No. Why am I even arguing about this? Boom! Headshot. Oh, yeah, okay, so this is the thing, guys. Time change. This is what's going to unite our country. It's not going to be Bernie frickin' Sanders. It's not going to be frickin' Trump. It's not going to be Biden. It's going to be the time change. Time change. No more 2020. That's what I'm saying. Year-round. DST or standard time. I don't care what you want. Just choose one. Stick to it. That's what we're going to do. That's what's going to unite us. Presidential race doesn't matter. That's just something we talk about to distract us from the real issue, which is changing our clocks. I think that's what... So go out there, contact your state representative, contact your federal representative. I don't know if you know what I mean. I'm saying that there's governments at the state level. Contact them, somebody who represents you. Tell them, get us off the teat of standard time or daylight savings time. Choose one. Do that. Federal level. Do it. Contact them. Let's flood the gates, guys. Let's make a petition even for people to petition about this, right? Let's have like some sort of time clock pussy hat and go march on the Capitol and make everybody an hour late or force everybody an hour early. Like let's slice the government's budget by 1 hour a day until they change it. I don't know how we're going to do this. I think we can actually affect change in this area. I think this is a way where everybody can be on the same lawn at the same time and appreciate that. That's what I think about the time change. I think that is a public service that we can give our children. You want to talk about the future? Literally. You're literally stealing time from the future so you can have more in the present. Like oh yeah, the future candidate, the revolution. No. Talk about the revolution. Like you're breaking the revolution. You're like making, oh no, we're going to go this way. Doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. Time share for all. That's what I want us to run. That's what I want us to do. That's my thoughts on that. I'm sick and tired of people talking about all these important issues and leaving this one simple little frivolous activity that we can all agree on, converge upon, and change the world in this one way. Like it's right there. It's right under your nose, guys. Worried about the virus? Come on, let's make this go viral. Was that sufficiently histrionic for y'all? You know, I was using the word histrionic, because I didn't understand what it meant, but I knew what it meant, but I didn't understand where it came from. And some freaking Brit, and I have to give them this. The British, every once in a while, spell things better. Every once in a while. Maybe the word gray and histrionic. They spelled it with a Y, H-Y, strionic. Like, oh, it's like hysteria, right? Which has unfortunate sexist, connotations about history, the hysterectomy. What's a hysterectomy? What's the thing that you get rid of? The history, the hysteria. I don't know, but it just okay, histrionic. I get it. I understand. You're going overboard, But you got to do that because that's what drives interest. That's what drives engagement. That's what makes people wince because you're blowing out the freaking microphone. That's my bad for not sufficiently compressing my audio. If I teared your speakers, I'm really sorry about that. I tried to back away when I was doing that. Anyways, wait, we have to see if Lady Dakini ever told me what she's reading. I don't see. Wait, nope. Keep on. All I see is emojis. Lady Dakini. All right. So just to give equal time to everyone, this guy, Sterling Price, under the banner of Christ, comes out with the opposing view. And we accept the minority opinion here. He says he likes the time change. There we go. It's noted. It's on the record. Sterling Price, follower of Christ, likes the time change. I kind of liked it too. I don't really matter. I just think that this is what we could all do together. Like, this is the thing that can bridge the gap. Anyways, I was looking for some... Lady Dakini. She likes Andrew Yang. She's being mysterious. Well, Lady Dakini, I will let you maintain the privacy of your whatever it is you're ingesting on a literary or non-fictional level, or maybe read poetry about colons. Colonoscopy poetry. Oh, we have to, okay. This is like a tradition now. We just have to... I'm not even going to say it. If you can't see it, then it doesn't matter. Let's just... It's just a Benjamin tradition. Benjamin traditions. Anyways, I should let you guys go. Oh, wait. Oh, ooh, awesome. This girl is dope. Lady Dakini, you are a fly dame. And I mean that in the 1988 meaning of the word fly. Lady Dakini is rereading Iliad and Odyssey before reading Circe. Wait, isn't Circe... I'm gonna admit to my ignorance. I thought Circe was a chapter. Isn't Circe like a character in the Iliad and the Odyssey? So you're working on Joyce? Are you working on Ulysses? Is that what I should infer from that? Or am I being an idiot and Circe is an actual author and not a goddess of some sort? Circe. What do you guys name your hard drives? Do you guys name your hard drives? I've been since I had a computer, which was pretty late, like 2003, I think I got a computer. I've been always naming my hard drives after Greek myth. Right now I got Pilates. This is my server. This is a really nice server. And then, well, I guess Mephisto is not. Mephisto is my computer. And Ariadne is my old computer. This is actually named after a Irish folk hero, I believe, named Mainwar, and I'm probably mispronouncing that. Anyways, I always have mythic names for all my hard drives. Do you guys have like a naming convention for your hard drive? I wonder if that's like some sort of like confession, some sort of deep confession, like some sort of deep, like another, it's like the time change. Like it's a completely frivolous detail that makes everything else make sense about the person that you are. What do you name your hard drives? Ooh, Tracy names her cars. The one I have now is Luna. That's cool. My girlfriend names her cars. She once had a Hyundai named Shelob. It was a clunker, but it had some power, I'll tell you that much. Luna. That's a nice car. You guys name your cars? That's good. Farley Moab's just like playing some sort of sad boy music out there, and you know what? I play sad boy music. If you actually listen to my sad boy music, I take it one step further. There's always a twist. I'm always twisting because I understand. You take a genre, it's not good enough to max out the genre. You have to figure out how to max out the genre, and you twist it. You twist it. But C, D, E, and F sounds a little... Actually, that sounds like Christian. That's like a praise music with that D. And then the E. Yeah, okay. If you had a G and a F and an A minor and a C, that's more sad boy music, right? So C, D, E, and F. That could be praise music. It could be rock and roll too, which is just praise music with liquor and cleavage. No, there's plenty of cleavage in church. I guess thigh? There's not a lot of thigh in church. Cleavage is okay. Thigh is going a little too far, though. So rock and roll is just praise music with thigh. Is that fair? Now I'm just like relaxing into this. Oh, look, we're halfway there. Things are taking effect. Went down a level. We're a little cool. I'm not hyperactive, not hyper excited. I understand how people like this pace of things. Like we're just like floating on. Oh, this is the other song that I had. This is my waiting in the doctor's office song. I don't know if I'll remember it all. And I only have part of it. It goes, I'm floating down the Roanoke, waiting for the antelope to wave goodbye to me. I'm looking for an antelope. I'm looking for an antidote to figure out what makes me choke all spring on these allergies. And as the river rocks my boat, I think aloud about the goat tied up to my apple tree. He's got enough to eat, I know, but if it rains or if it snows, I hope he don't feel too ill at ease. But anyway, the ocean's here, and lucky me the weather's clear. It's time to tack the wind to my sails. I'm floating south down to the beach where the medicine men meet. I hope they have the cure for what ails. And then there needs to be a change right there. Because the problem, if you don't have a change, the brain starts to reject that repetitive motion, starts to get tired of it. So if you switch it over, it's really refreshing for the brain. So I have to figure out how to switch the tune over there. And I'm sorry, I don't know what it's called, but the melody needs to change. It needs to go into a chorus or a bridge or something like that. Where's the bridge? Where's the bridge? I don't know where that came from. I'm sorry. Were you guys ever? I'm willing to bet. Like I'm cultivating a female audience, but I know at least half my audience is probably male. I need to look at the analytics. I think I'm 60-40 male female usually, so 60 male to 40 female. But if you remember being a teen boy, there was a way of just like memeing. Before memes, boys, at least in my youth group, we were always memeing. We'd take a little phrase. I think I've spoken about this before, but who watches all my stuff so I can say it again? We'd take a phrase and you just say it over and over again. Like, where's the bridge? Where's the bridge? You know, like everybody's like, it's like this weird little meme. Like we all get together. Where's the bridge? Where's the bridge? I don't know where that came from. I was referencing Led Zeppelin anyway. So, but it's really annoying because like you'd be trying to think about something else, and then something happens, and then somebody says, makes it relevant, somehow relevant. Where's the bridge? It becomes relevant, and then everybody. It's like, it derails all of it. Everything that's going on. It's like, where's the bridge? And then you just have a bunch of people. I mean, I know men get a lot of hate in this world, but there's some awesome things that we do. And memeing is something that we excel at. And I think it should be enshrined and not feared in our culture. It should just be embraced. It's just something that's really awesome. Before the internet ruined everything by making the most insecure among us want to control us, the most insecure, insignificant, mediocre people are trying to control everybody else. Can you imagine that? I guess that's probably human history, but it's still utterly offensive to me that those are the people who are trying to control everybody else. I mean, why would they not try to control anybody else? If you're such a heartless, dreamless person that you think that your job is to go around policing other people's language, policing other people's discourse. I mean, what else do you have to do? You have nothing to add. I don't know why I'm getting mad. This is not histrionic. This is righteous justice. This is anger. This is motherfucker. I'll use that word. I don't know how to use that word in a sentence anymore, but I ruined everything. I cussed, and now it's gone. Anyways, I'm just saying, Why are those the people? Of course, those are the people who are doing that because they don't have any recourse to do anything additive to culture. They can't add anything to culture. There was this person that I'm not going to call a dude, but there's this other guy, Zuby. He got kind of internet famous somehow in this weird way. And he makes these kind of tweets that go viral. Anyway, it's kind of a weird cultural phenomenon, but he's kind of like he's just a disc jockey for memes on the right? He's just like, he's just like making cool beats, making cool memes, making cool tweets, and you spin them and they go somewhere, and they spin them and they go somewhere. Anyways, he called this person a dude. This person who actually is a dude but doesn't identify as a dude used that to ban the person, Zuby Music, from the internet for calling they, them, her, she, it, he, dude, right? So this person who doesn't actually add anything to culture, or insofar as they do add something to culture, that's not enough for them. They have to go around, made this big stink about banning somebody for calling them dude. It's just like, it's so freaking pathetic. How do we give power to the pathetic? There's something about power that's always going to be exploited no matter what by the pathetic. Just like, and how do you defeat the pathetic? You don't make them feel pathetic. You make them irrelevant. That's the thing. They always bend power to make themselves relevant. So you figure out a way to make them irrelevant. Again, it's just like, there's negative people on the internet. How do you deal with them? You go out there and you create content that's as authentic as possible, that allows people to just go through their life and explain their thoughts. And then, for whatever reason, people on the internet use that as a platform to, disagree or to fling mud. It's like, okay, you have to ignore those people. For the most part, they don't matter. But every once in a while, there's somebody who figures out how to matter, and they cheat at mattering. They cheat at mattering. You have to rely on history to make them irrelevant. I mean, what are you adding? If you're not adding anything to culture, if you're not adding anything to culture, there's no reason why culture would keep you, would maintain you. Once you're gone, once you're no longer interacting with culture, you were already forgotten, right? So the trick, and this is the problem with being an artist and the ego thing, you start messing around with immortality. You start messing around with ways to become immortal, which is dangerous because you can get stuck on the irrelevant fact that you want to be relevant, right? You can get stuck on the fact of you're choosing something, you're chasing something that's ultimately trying to make yourself bigger than you are. But if you do it healthily, if you do it properly, you try to say, well, how can I actually influence people? How can I make a stamping culture that will perpetuate beyond me? Where when I'm not there, people are doing what I was doing, right? And then you figure out if you're a moral person, if you're somebody who has an ethical compass, and you say, okay, there's ways that I can do that would be good for the culture. There's ways that I could do that would be bad for culture, and you have to kind of wrestle with that and experiment with things. But if you can figure out a good way of doing that, you become immortal in a way, right? You create a way of interacting with other people that people want to reuse, right? So you yourself actually are just as irrelevant, just as forgotten, right? But your effect isn't. And I guess I'm making a stupid judgment by saying the people who are adding negativity to the culture aren't having just as much power as the people who are adding positivity to the culture, right? But you look at what is negative and positive in culture, and you're saying the negative stuff ultimately is what erodes the bonds between people. And if you don't have bonds between people, then people can't create new ways of being people. Like the only way for people to discover new humanity is by interacting with each other as human beings, right? So everything that causes them to interact with each other in ways that are falsely human or less than human, you have to figure out how to constellate or overcome and free people. I don't feel like I'm making any sense. I'm really rambling right now. Anyways, there's people who are basically a net negative on the culture. There's ways of interacting with politics that are net negative. And ultimately, that was what I was trying to get to, a very clear critique of progressives without necessarily disagreeing with their project, pointing directly to what is stalling their project and what will continue to stall their project. And there's certain ways of behaving, there's certain ways of being morally superior that actually don't just set you apart, but set you on the path towards irrelevance, set you on the path towards creating a lot of destruction in the ways that people interact with each other, right? So how do you do that? Like, I do and I don't. Like, people keep on accusing me of being on the left or being like a shill for the right, but I don't understand like what any of that means. But I do know that the Progressive Project is prone to some of the most illiberal, anti-progressive behaviors. And figuring out the psychology and working backward from the behavior to the belief and then modifying the belief, right? Which is the Evergreen Project. You take the belief system, you take what the kids were taught, and you take how the kids were behaving, and you show how those two things are connected so that people will be able to be a little bit more wise about the ideas that are being masked under the guise of equity, inclusion, and diversity, right? It's like, I have no problem. I do have a problem with equity, but I have no problem with equality and diversity and inclusion. I mean, there's only so much that really matter about them. I really want people to excel. So how do you give people the ability to excel? You give people the ability to create something of their own. Therefore, you teach people personal responsibility so that they own everything they do. And they can see that the effect that they have in the world either matters, doesn't matter, or matters in a negative way, right? So ultimately, my personal progressive rubric is that you start from the human being. You start from etiquette. You take all the desires of somebody. You foist upon them discipline. You say, listen, you have access to all this power, but the power is either going to be negative or nothing if you don't organize it. So you have to organize yourself in order to organize your power, and responsibility is taking stock of how you acted and how that had an effect, which is the most offensive thing about the George Bridges administration, and something that I have more data on. This guy is constitutionally incapable of taking responsibility for anything other than the positive that he's done. He is, I don't want to call him a liar, but like he's unable to say, look at all the damage that I've done to this institution. No, he signs a letter. He literally he puts his name on a letter that says that he's a wise and compassionate leader. Like, who other than a tyrant would call themselves wise and compassionate in leadership? Jesus Christ. Like he completely glosses over the fact that he has destroyed this institution. It's so offensive. So until people hold him to account, they can't hold the institution to account, and ultimately probably why they can't hold him to account, because if they held him to account, if the true believers that are still controlling Evergreen held George Bridges to account, that means they would have to hold themselves to account. They would have to hold themselves to account for what happened at Evergreen and then to Evergreen, because they can't do that, because that would mean that they would have to go and look at their ideas. And I have it on tape. It's bootleg tape. It's low quality. Trying to wait for the good tape, but I have it on tape where they're still saying the events of 2017 were caused because we weren't being social justice enough. They think they weren't being social justice enough, and that's why the 2017 happened. There was no other place on the planet that was more social justice than Evergreen. Like, okay, so it doesn't matter. Like, they have too much incentive not to lie. They're literally hemorrhaging. They are hemorrhaging. They are bleeding to death. They're the Black Knight. Saying like it was just a flesh wound. It's just a flesh wound. I didn't win. I didn't lose the battle. I'm still here. Look at me. Let's fight again. Let's fight for social justice again. I didn't lose anything. Like, students are pouring out of them. Like some sort of weird, like, sexual thing. It's just like students are just like shooting out of them. It's not sexual at all. It's horrific, gory. So ultimately, it's like, okay, well, who's going to win? Whoever's going to win that game, so many people are going to be harmed so much more by this ideology. All the staff that they're going to continually lay off, all the faculty that they're going to lay off, all these hardworking individuals that had nothing to do with these ideas are going to be sacrificed because these people can't look at how their beliefs caused the actions of the students. So maybe I'm wrong to think that progressivism writ large is just gonna re-affect the Evergreen stuff. But if it's not gonna head in the Evergreen direction, if it's not going to implode, if it's not going to tear itself into a billion little mini tribes fighting over each other, if it's going to build a coalition, it has to be founded on something other than intersectionality, other than privilege, other than oppression. And I was thinking about this today. Even if you can make a solid economic argument of the redistribution of wealth, you will always have people, one, who will protect their own wealth, right? So you're not going to be able to get their wealth. And so you're going to have to translate, and this is what's happened. This is what's happened. The economic redistribution of wealth doesn't work. So people have figured out a way to game the system to override other people. You can't take their money, right? You can't cause the government to take everybody's money. Well, they're going to try. They're going to try. They're going to try for good reasons, right? They have all these great reasons. They're going to try. Take people's money to give it to people who need it, right? Super inefficiently, right? Super duper inefficiently. But ultimately, you're not going to be able to do that. So you modify that a little bit. And you convince people to give you money, right? So what you do is you shame them, right? You don't act on the economic level anymore. You act on the moral level. And that's what I see. That's what I see at Evergreen. So they took the Marxist ideology of redistribution of wealth and they tried to apply that to intelligence. But you can't redistribute intelligence. You can only redistribute attention, right? You can only redistribute how you pay attention to the different people who are seeking ways to refine their intelligence, which is completely asinine. Right? It's completely asinine. Right? Instead of and Evergreen itself as a model of education only works for independent people. It's only ever going to work, and it's only going to produce failures if it's not based on people that take personal responsibility. Like the whole Evergreen model is the most classically liberal, like the ultimate classical liberal model, but because it didn't select the correct students and modify itself to foster the core principles of individual responsibility, despite how diverse you have it, despite the adversity of your circumstances, despite how bad the world is, despite how drastically horrible certain systems of governments are, if you base the whole philosophy on changing the bad in the world, if that is your rubric, you will then start to manifest certain behaviors. And that's what I'm trying to get to the argument. How do the people who internalize Bernie Sanders' ideas, how do they act? Right? And I don't want to make any you don't have to make any personal judgments on him. There's people who make plenty of judgments, good and bad, on him. I feel that he's very authentic. I don't even have to judge his ideas as good as bad. Maybe he's doing the best with those ideas possible, right? But when those ideas are translated into the masses, how does it work out when you blame everything on the billionaires? How does it work out when you start to blame your paucity of circumstance on on others' surplus or so-called surplus of circumstance? Like, and if it doesn't happen economically, it will happen in other ways than just economic, because people don't just think in numbers. People take ideologies and they apply them to interpersonal relationships, and they start to judge everybody on whether or not you are with the program or against the program. And if you're against the program, it's probably because you're being selfish, because this program's all about being selfless. This program's all about giving. Well, I mean, we're going to take everybody else's to give, but it's all about giving, right? But it's just missing the whole equation. Somebody has to create before you can take away to give to somebody else that needs that, right? And I'm not saying, I think you can make an argument where it's still, I think that there's an argument to be made to say that it's actually more enriching for people to believe in imperfect meritocracy. It's probably in aggregate better to have a flawed meritocracy than to have the opposite of meritocracy, a privilegeocracy, or an oppressionocracy. There's got to be a clever wordplay that I'm not coming up right now, because once you start to multiply that on the level of societies and then the level of the personal relationships, if you base everything in your life, whether or not other people are playing the game fairly, if you base the evaluation of the way that you're playing the game on whether or not I have mastery, then that will cause you to see the world in a different way. You will actually have more power over the world if you see that actually it's my job to make the world better. It's my job to make my circumstances better. If you see that, you will actually, whether or not free will is a lie or not, it doesn't matter. The fiction, if you want to call it that, of free will actually cause a productive feedback loop where you will start amassing at least the sense of ownership over yourself. Now, whether or not that ownership is going to spiral out of control, you have these multi-conglomerate companies with this neoliberal outlook looking at all this global things. I don't know. I'm a complete failure when you get up to the systems level. Like I'm a failure at thinking rationally on those terms. I lose the argument up there. I don't know. All I know is that the way that human beings interact under certain ideologies, the way that human beings shape their experiences and shape their relationships under whether or not the world needs to change or I need to change is a huge difference. That's a huge difference in how individuals ultimately act and then feel about their actions and feel about the world. That's just my thing. So if you can marry meritocracy with a better system of sharing, right? With a better way of redistribution of wealth, because the government is soaking up a bunch of money already. Why can't we just make that better? Why can't we reform these different systems? Why can't we reform healthcare? Well, what's stopping us from doing that? I have no problem with those projects. I get lost in the complexity of that, but the core philosophy of where the locus of control and the locus of oppression is, that is what I attack constantly, and that's what I hold to. Whether or not I can argue in that in person, that's ultimately my philosophy, because it builds into a reality. It builds into a way of interacting with people in the world that is so much more richer and free and fun and lively. And sometimes it pays good, too. Did I miss any questions? Okay, Chris Strange says that I want whatever he's having. So, again, this is the first drink of the night. I think I've had 5 or 6 sips from this. It's a whiskey sour with a American bourbon whiskey, lemon, Luxor cherry, and a bunch of bitters, and all shaken up to make a little cocktail, which is refreshing, though I don't know if it's necessarily a March drink. I think we're done. I think I did my duty. Look at that. You always max out at like 108 eyes, which is a good number for me, but I always feel bad. It's like 108 people expecting me to produce more. Like, why can't I just be an infinite, like, you guys play Play-Doh? You know, like you get like the fancy Play-Doh set. It's got like the different lever things. Like, that's what I'm supposed to do. I'm supposed to take all the knowledge when I'm off camera, and then when I'm on camera, I just like pull the lever and it comes out in little different shapes and sizes. I don't think I was too offensive. I did say motherfucker once or twice, but it was out of context, so I didn't really use it. I'm sorry. Sorry, Bike Butt Bird. I disappointed you. My inability to cuss in a proper, effective manner. I'm going to go. You guys are wonderful. You guys are great. I hope you take all my energy and you disperse it around the world like little sugar packets. Just hide them in little pockets of your day. I hope I gave you some good energy. I think that you guys are brilliant. I think you guys you're on the verge of being able to tap into an infinite source of possibility, energy, and creation. So I guess in that way, I am liberal. You know, I am like a leftist. Like, yeah, look at all the improvement we can do. Like, look at the terrible capacity we have to do great things. Like, why would you not want to recreate the world? It's like, well, first you have to have rules. First you have to accept that there is conservative basis to society. You have to accept that. You have to accept certain foundational principles because you're going to anyways. And so you have to see what foundations are stable enough to allow me to whip around in the wind and dance on a rooftop every now and then without having to worry about anything other than me misstepping. But I can trust the roofs that I prance on. We're great. You're great. I will talk to you later. Good night.